Because I believe there's 3 decisions you make every moment of your life. You're making them right now if you're listening to me, and so is your audience. The first one is, what are you going to focus on? You're going to be focused on what happened yesterday, what you're going to have for lunch, what I'm saying, how it relates to you. There are millions of things you can focus on. But you don't experience life. You experience the life you focus on. And most of us are distortion, deletion creatures. Our brains don't take it all in consciously. It's too much. So our brains delete things, we distort things, we generalize things so we can make it through our lives. And so if you don't control your focus, you react. And that day, my dad's focus was not actually not fed his family. It wasn't hard to figure out. He said it over and over again after he slammed the door. And my focus was, wow, there's food. What a concept. I was excited. But the second decision you make every moment, the minute you focus on something, your brain has to figure out, what does this mean? Is this the end or the beginning? Is this person dissing me? Are they challenging me? Are they coaching me? Are they loving me? And whatever meaning you give it produces emotion. And out of that emotion, you make the third decision, what am I going to do? And that day, I know the meaning my dad did. It wasn't just that he didn't feed his family, it's that he was worthless. I can't even feed my family, and he muttered all this stuff continuously. But I took that as stranger's care. It completely violated everything I had experienced in my life up until that point. And my brain was like, if a stranger doesn't even want credit for this, and they fed my family on Thanksgiving, I got to care about strangers. And so what I decided to do is someday I'm going to do this for others. And so when I was 17, I went out and I didn't have a lot of money, but I was doing okay. And I went to a grocery store and I told the manager what happened in my life. And I said, I want to feed 2 families. Help me out. Give me a discount. And he gave me 10% off. And I thought, cheap bastard, but I took it. I had the most enjoyable shopping. I took 2 shopping carts and just filled it up for 2 families. And then I called this church and I said, who do you know that needs help but won't ask for it, won't come for it? And they gave me 2 families' names. And so I wrote a little note. I just put, this is a gift from a friend. Everyone has tough times. I hope you have a beautiful Thanksgiving. And someday, if you can, pay this forward. I didn't use the word pay it forward. I said, do this for someone else. But now you look at it as pay it forward. And I put, love a friend. And then I realized I was going to the barrio area of the city. And I was like, maybe they don't speak English. So I had a friend of mine write it in Spanish on the back. So I figured I could flip it over. And the first house I went to was a little tiny place. I knock on the door, and this woman about this tall, Hispanic woman, sees me and sees the food and screams and then grabs my head and pulls it down and starts kissing me on the cheek. I said, no, delivery boy. And she was, and I pull out the note and I flipped it over in Spanish and she read it and then she started to cry and she started giving me kissing. I said, no, delivery. She goes, no, gift of God. And I'm trying not to cry. I'm just like, I feel like it was yesterday still. And so, the door opened. It's a tiny little place, the size of your kitchen here, or your reminder of your kitchen. And I was so excited to set food down. All of a sudden I heard screams. And then next thing I know, I'm hit by one and then by another 4 boys. And one hit one leg, one hit the other. They saw the food, they went crazy. And I said, come help me. It had other stuff in the van. And when they saw the pumpkin pie, it was really over, And we brought all this food in, and then it was time to go. And the father had left them, I found out later, 4 days before Thanksgiving with no money and no food. And I'm looking through the mirror and I just started crying uncontrollably. And I'm like, why am I crying so bad? This is such a beautiful moment. And then I just realized, my worst day of my life was really my best day. That the day that was the most painful to me, because that father is the one he adopted me. I carry his name. That I wouldn't be there that day. I'm a good human being, but would I work as hard as I worked to feed other people? I mean, next year I did 4, then 8, then 12, then I had a little company. I got my employees involved. And I got to 1 million people, 2 million people. And then about 12 years ago, I decided I want to feed 1 billion meals here in the United States in 10 years. And so it's grown and grown and grown, all from not being fed. And so I see it as a blessing. I always try to help people say, how could you turn your worst day into your best day? That's when life is really magic. I hate suffering. I've suffered myself, and so I hate to see anybody suffer. And so I'm unbelievably driven to end suffering where I can to help anyone do that, whether it be hunger or emotional hunger or depression or sadness or relationship or I don't know what it is. I love human beings. I hate suffering, and I love to see when somebody awakens to who they are. And we all are so much more than we ever, perceive ourselves to be. But many times you don't discover that until you have to. I like to try and show people how to do it so they have to wait till life hits them. You know, anything you can imagine, we're all going to go through extreme stress in our lives, but how do you use stress, or does stress use you? And so my whole thing is help people, show them how to use stress, because I don't care how good a person you are. I don't care how spiritual or religious you are. I don't care how smart you are, how rich you think you are. Every human being is going to go through extreme stress multiple times in their life. And the real question is, what are you going to do with it? And the first thing is, if you're going through hell, keep going. But if you keep going, you discover, number one, how strong you really are. Because if you don't give up, you'll discover who you are. But the second you find out is who your real friends are. Because when things aren't so great, you get to see who those are. And then third, it almost gives you like an inoculation to future stress. Because like I had a friend that was shot down in Vietnam and was in a prison there for 7 years in solitary confinement. And Captain Coffee's his name. And I remember I met him later in life, and he was going through this tough thing with the IRS, and it was so unfair. It took him 3 years. He got his money back. But I said, doesn't that drive you crazy? He goes, after I've been with the North Vietnamese, he goes, you know, what could the IRS do to me? You know? So I think those pieces are there, but everyone gets called on the journey. Most people try to resist it, but that journey, that's what the call is. It's a call to grow. So I'm big on change your story, change your life. And I'm big on understanding the narrative of where you are in the story of your life, because if you understand where you are, it gives context, it gives meaning, and it doesn't make you feel overwhelmed.
Had your mother not suffered in such a way, do you think this would be so important to you? Had you not observed that suffering?
Yeah, I've often said, like I said earlier, I think I'm a good human being, and I think I still help people, but what I'm providing 62 billion meals working around the clock on top of, you know, my 114 companies and all that, no, I don't think I would. That hunger comes very often from pain, but pain's not enough to keep you going. Pain only goes so far. You've got to find something that, it's like I tell people there's two types of motivation, right? There's push motivation, you know, you're making something happen, and I have enormous willpower, I'm sure you do. Most of the people we probably interact with have great willpower, right? But there's still a limit to it. There's no limit to pull motivation. Pull is there's something so magnificent you want to serve, something that you care about more than yourself. That's where all the energy in life comes from. You know what's in your heart and your soul, what wakes you up in the morning and makes you go. And I think if I hadn't had the pain, I don't think I would have been sensitized. But I also, if I hadn't felt the pleasure of serving and seeing impact on such a large scale, then, you know, you'd be limited. Because listen, meeting your own needs is not that hard. Like my biggest beef with right now since COVID is this whole self-care revolution we've got. I mean, you got to take care of yourself. Don't get me wrong. I take care of myself. And, you know, you get weaker and weaker the more you focus on yourself. The human mind is always going to figure out something that isn't good enough. But when you're serving, you're not there. Like your mind's not there. You're with the people. You're with what you're doing. And it's the escape from the mind's reductionism. And so I really believe that people, the secret to life is to find something you care about more than yourself that gives you that pull motivation. And then you're never going to lack for energy. You're never going to lack for passion. You're never going to lack for anything. And you're going to have a life that's extremely meaningful. It's not happy every moment. There's not meant to be. If you smile, have you ever smiled so much your face hurt? Yeah. You know, we need variety. But meaning, that's something you can find no matter what.